Hello dear friends, welcome to all of you in this video. Today we are going to talk about human heart. Well, let's start with its definition. Heart is a mesodermally derived hollow muscular organ which pumps the blood throughout the body. Now let's talk about its location. Well, the heart is located in the thoracic cavity. Now, what is thoracic cavity? Thoracic cavity is the cavity or the space between both the lungs. The heart is located between both the lungs in the thoracic cavity. The two-thirds of the heart, almost two-thirds of the heart, is located on the left side of the midline of the body, and one-third of the heart, almost one-third of the heart, is located on the right side of the midline of the body. Well, does the heart have a shape? Yes, it does have a shape. Okay, so heart is somewhat conical in shape. Okay, as you can see here, the upper broad part is called the base and the lower narrow part is called the apex. So heart is somewhat conical in shape with an upper broad part which is called the base and the lower narrow part which is called the apex. Now let's talk about the size of the heart. Well, every person has a heart equivalent in size of a clenched fist. If we talk about an adult heart, it is almost 5 inches long, 3.5 inches broad, and 2.5 inches from back to forth. So this is a brief introduction of the heart. Now let's talk about its internal structure. Well, internally the heart has been divided in 4 chambers. The upper 2 chambers are called atria and the lower 2 chambers are called ventricles. To understand the internal structure of the heart, I have drawn another diagram which is more simplified. As we can see here, the entire heart has been divided in 4 chambers. The 2 upper chambers are called atria together. Okay, each of them is known as an atrium. Okay, and the 2 lower chambers are called ventricles. Okay, both the atria are separated by a thin muscular wall. That thin muscular wall is called interatrial septum, and both the ventricles are also separated by a thick muscular wall. This time the wall is a bit thicker in compared to the interatrial septum. Okay, so both the ventricles are also separated by a thick muscular wall, okay, which separates both the ventricles, and this is called interventricular septum. So the thin wall which separates both the atria is called interatrial septum, and the thick wall, a bit thicker wall, okay, which separates both the ventricles is called interventricular septum. Okay, an atrium and a ventricle on each side have also been separated by such muscular walls. Okay, these muscular walls on both the sides are called atrioventricular septum. Now these muscular walls are provided with openings. The opening located on the right side between the right atrium and right ventricle is called tricuspid valve. Now why it is called tricuspid valve? Because it opens in 3 cusps like this. It opens in 3 leaflets and 3 parts. That's why it is called tricuspid valve. Okay, on the right side. On the left side, okay, between the left atrium and left ventricle, okay, this valve is known as bicuspid valve because it opens in 2 cusps or 2 parts like this. Okay, now if we talk about the right atrium has been provided with 2 inlets. Now these 2 inlets are called vena cavas. Okay, the upper one is called the superior vena cava and the lower one is called the inferior vena cava. Similar to this, okay, the left atrium has also been provided with 4 inlets. 2 are visible here. Okay, these 2 inlets are known as pulmonary veins. Okay, similar to atria, okay, the ventricles have also been provided but not with inlets, outlets. Okay, so the right atrium has been provided with an outlet. Okay, this outlet or outgoing pipe is actually called the pulmonary artery. Okay, similarly, okay, the left ventricle has also been provided with an outlet, and this is called aorta. The entire heart is encapsulated in a tough heart covering, okay, which is made of tough and inflexible tissues. This tough and hard covering is called pericardium. Okay, and there is a space or cavity between pericardium and the soft cardiac tissues of the heart. This is called the pericardial cavity. Now, there's a fluid in the pericardial cavity which reduces friction between the cardiac muscles and pericardium. The fluid is called pericardial fluid. At times, because of some kind of bacterial or viral infection, the amount of the pericardial fluid inside the pericardial cavity increases, and it disturbs the functioning of the heart as it puts pressure on the cardiac muscles. When it happens, it is called pericardial effusion. Okay, or in severe cases, it is called cardiac tamponade. Okay, now what is the treatment? Well, the treatment is called pericardiocentesis. Okay, now this pericardiocentesis is a procedure through which the excessive pericardial fluid is drained out of the heart. Well, that is all about the internal structure of the heart. Okay, apart from these chambers, okay, there are some other things. Okay, the entire heart is also provided with some special kind of cardiac tissues, okay, which have the capacity to generate action potentials. Okay, and these tissues are called nodal tissues. Okay, a patch of such nodal tissues is located on the right upper corner of right atrium, and it is called SA node or sinoatrial node. Okay, another such patch is found in the lower left corner of the right atrium, and it is called AV node, atrioventricular node. The AV node has been named atrioventricular node because it is located on the atrioventricular septum on the right side of the heart. Okay, it passes through interventricular septum and immediately divides into branches. These two branches are known as bundle of His, and the bundle of His again branch out in the form of fine fibers which are spread throughout the ventricular musculature. Okay, musculature means part of muscles. Okay, so the fibers which are spread throughout the ventricular musculature, they are known as Purkinje fibers. Okay, so that's all about the internal structure of the heart. Now let's talk about its working process. Okay, so while reading about the working process of heart, we need to keep in mind two words. One is called systole, which means contraction, and another is diastole, which means relaxation. Now, so let's talk about the working process of the heart, that how the heart functions. Okay, so heart function continuously from the birth of a child till its death. Okay, so we are taking the still frame, okay, or a minute part of it, okay, and we will try to deal with it in sequence. So initially, all the four chambers of the heart remain in a state of relaxation, okay, and in this stage, okay, the tricuspid valve and bicuspid valve both are opened, okay. Now this state is called the state of joint diastole, okay. Then sinoatrial node generates an action potentials which causes both the atria to undergo contraction, okay, and this contraction of the atria is called atrial systole, and the blood present in the two upper chambers is pumped in the ventricles through tricuspid and bicuspid valves. Okay, so after this, the action potential which was generated by SA node is transferred to AV node. Okay, and through AV node and Purkinje fibers it is spread throughout the ventricular musculature, and both the ventricles contract. Okay, when this contraction happens, it is called ventricular systole. When the ventricular systole happens, at the same times the atria, both the atria undergo relaxation. Okay, so heart beats or heart functions in this manner. Okay, when the atrial systole happens, there is simultaneous ventricular diastole, and when the ventricular systole happens, there is simultaneous atrial diastole. So when there will be atrial systole, there will be ventricular diastole. When there will be ventricular systole, there will be atrial diastole. So this is the way how the heart beats. Okay, so when both the ventricles contract, okay, the blood attempts to go back to atria, but this time this attempted backflow is prevented by the closure of tricuspid valve on the right side and bicuspid valve on the left side, and they are forced to enter, okay, in pulmonary artery from the right ventricle and aorta from the left ventricle. So this is how heart pumps the blood. Okay, so from the right ventricle the blood is pumped to the lungs, and from the left ventricle it is pumped to aorta. Okay, each ventricle pumps 7 ml blood in each ventricular systole, and this is called the stroke volume. Okay, and this cycle of one complete atrial systole and ventricular diastole and one complete ventricular systole and atrial diastole is collectively called a cardiac cycle. Okay, so one cardiac cycle means one heartbeat, and in a healthy human being, okay, it is almost 72 times that the cardiac cycle is completed. So there is 72 heartbeats per minute in a human being, or there is completion of 72 cardiac cycle. Okay, so when we multiply the stroke volume with the cardiac cycle, we get the cardiac output, which is close to 5 liters of blood getting pumped in the body by the heart every minute. Now, because this entire pumping is happening because of the action potential generated by sinoatrial node, hence it is known as the pacemaker of the heart. Now, what will happen if the sinoatrial node will not work properly? In that case, we need to install an artificial pacemaker in the body. Okay, well, as far as an artificial pacemaker is concerned, it has two parts. Okay, a box-like structure which is known as the pulse generator, and an electrode which looks like a spring. Now this box, which is known as pulse generator, okay, it has two parts, or it has two components. One is the lithium halide cell or the battery, and another is an electronic circuit to regulate the impulse. Okay, and these impulses are carried to the heart by the electrode, which is kept inside the ventricles, because we need more power in the ventricles. So there is no meaning, okay, of it being placed in the atria. So that's why whenever the artificial pacemaker is installed in the body, okay, the electrode is kept in the ventricles, because we need more force here. Okay, if the ventricles will generate proper force, the blood will be pumped to the lungs, and blood will be pumped from the heart to other parts of body. So we need more power here in the ventricles. That's why the electrode which conveys the electrical impulses from the pulse generator to the heart is kept in the ventricles. So whenever this artificial pacemaker is installed in the body, the pulse generator is kept below the collarbone. Okay, and the electrode is kept in the ventricles. Now, so this is how the heart functions. This is how the heart beats. Okay, now let's talk about the blood circulation. Okay, now to understand the blood circulation, again we have to go to this simplified structure. So what happens? The deoxygenated blood, okay, the blood which has carbon dioxide, okay, is brought to the right atrium of the heart by superior vena cava and inferior vena cava from the upper as well as lower part of the body respectively. And when, okay, the right atrium is filled with blood, sinoatrial node generates action potentials and both the atria undergo contraction. Okay. Now, when it happens, the blood is pumped through tricuspid valve to right ventricle. Okay. Now, the action potential which was generated by sinoatrial node is transferred to atrioventricular node. When this happens, both the ventricles undergo contraction, means there is ventricular systole, and whatever deoxygenated blood is there in the right ventricle, it tries to flow back, but this attempted backflow is again prevented by the closure of tricuspid valve, and the blood is pushed into this outlet which is called pulmonary artery, and it is taken to the lungs where it deposits all the CO2 it has and takes back oxygen. Okay, now it becomes oxygenated blood. This oxygenated blood is brought to the left atrium by the four inlets which are known as the pulmonary veins. Okay, now again the sinoatrial node, which is somewhere located here, okay, generates action potentials. Both the atria undergo contraction, there is atrial systole, and through bicuspid valve, okay, the blood is pumped into left ventricle. Okay, now the same action potential is transferred to AV node and Purkinje fibers. Both the ventricles undergo contraction, means the ventricular systole, and to prevent the attempted backflow, there is closure of the bicuspid valve and all the blood is compelled or pushed into aorta. And aorta is the pipe, okay, which supplies the oxygenated blood throughout our body. Okay, now whatever pressure the aorta experiences, okay, during the ventricular systole and diastole, that is collectively or combinedly called the blood pressure. Okay, when it is measured with the help of sphygmomanometer, okay, during the ventricular systole, okay, it is 120, and during the ventricular diastole it is 80. So 120 upon 80 is called the normal blood pressure of a human being. Okay, when it becomes more than 140 upon 100, it is called hypertension. When it goes below 100 upon 80, it is called hypotension. Okay, so this is how the blood circulation happens. Now this entire circulation of blood, okay, has been divided in two parts. Okay, the part of circulation which happens in the pulmonary artery, lungs and aorta, pulmonary artery, lungs and pulmonary veins. Okay, pulmonary artery, okay, to the lungs and pulmonary veins, this is called pulmonary circulation. Okay, and apart from this, whatever circulation happens, okay, through vena cavas and in the heart, okay, and aorta, okay, that is called systemic circulation. So when the blood enters the pulmonary artery, goes to lungs and comes back to the heart through pulmonary veins, this pathway of circulation is called pulmonary circulation. Okay, and when the blood is pushed into the aorta, from the aorta to all parts of body, and it is again brought to the right atrium through vena cavas, it is called systemic circulation. Now this is all about the functioning of the heart. One thing I missed, which I would like to explain you, okay, how the heartbeats are monitored. Well, the heartbeats are monitored by ECG, electrocardiograph, which is generated by a machine called electrocardiogram. Now, when the machine generates the graph, okay, it is represented by alphabets from P to T. Okay, here the P wave shows the action potentials generated by SAN. Okay, now the QRS complex, okay, it shows the ventricular systole. Okay, and the T wave shows the end of systole. So that is how the uh, beating of the heart or heartbeat is monitored, and this is the way it is represented. So P is action potential by S and N, means the atrial systole. QRS complex shows when this entire complex shows ventricular systole, and T shows end of ventricular systole. So this is how the heartbeat is monitored. Okay, now let's talk about uh, coronary arteries. So see, whatever circulation of blood we have seen, that is the function of the heart. Now how heart gets the blood it requires for its own requirements, for its own requirement of energy and oxygen. So there is a set of blood vessels, okay, which is called coronary arteries, which supplies the oxygenated blood to the cardiac muscles, which gives the heart strength required to perform all these functions. Okay, now the coronary artery, okay, have been divided in two parts. Okay, that is the right coronary artery and the left coronary artery. Okay, so as far as this left coronary artery is concerned, it has two parts. Okay, that is circumflex artery, which is called CA, and it is called LAD. Okay, that is the left anterior descending coronary artery. So these arteries are responsible for supplying the oxygenated blood to the heart. Okay, but when these arteries are blocked for some reason, because of increased cholesterol or some other reason, okay, the heart muscles do not get the amount of oxygen they require and the amount of energy they need to produce, okay, within the cardiac cells. Okay, they can die, and this is called, okay, myocardial failure or the heart failure. Now what are the treatments? Okay, so there are two types of treatments. One is the medicinal treatment. Okay, beta blockers are given to the heart so that the heart rate reduces and heart will not struggle to find more amount of oxygen for its increased function. That is one way. Okay, apart from this, oxygen therapy is there. Okay, increased amount of oxygen is given to the heart tissues and heart cells. Apart from that, okay, there are some medications. Okay, suppose the blockage is due to clotting of blood. Okay, so decoagulants are given, okay, like aspirin. Okay, other than that, streptokinase, okay, and other medicines are given. So these are the medicinal ways. Okay, and apart from that, okay, there are other ways. Okay, one way is called coronary angioplasty. What is coronary angioplasty? Okay, a catheter is inserted through the body, and it is conveyed to heart. It is balloon tipped and it has a stent. So the blockage is opened, okay, and the balloon is inflated. It places the stent there, okay, and once the stent is in place, okay, the catheter is pulled back. Okay, so this is one way. This is called angioplasty. Okay, and in most severe cases, okay, we have to go for an open surgery, which is also called bypass surgery. Okay, when this happens, okay, the oxygenated blood is drawn from aorta, and as a pipeline, saphenous vein from our legs is harnessed. Okay, and those places of the coronary artery which have been blocked are bypassed, and in this way oxygenated blood is circulated to the other parts of coronary artery, and in this way heart gets sufficient amount of oxygen what it needed. Okay, so this is all about heart. Okay, so if you are interested in such videos, please do subscribe the channel and hit the like button. Okay, our offline classes for CGPSC prelims, mains and UPSC are available in Bilaspur.